Tonight on Studio 12, we're taking you on a little detour, as in the artist Detour, whose new mural was showcased at the National Western Stock Show.
Then a sneak peek at a brand new segment called the Doodle Desk, where conversations seem to get especially interesting behind an easel.
And a new fire truck technology front and center from the Consumer Electronics Show. Franny Matthews brings us that story.
Also, don't miss a dynamic musical performance from our archives, the debut of Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, live from right here in our PBS 12 studios.
All of that and so much more coming up on Studio 12.
From the Five Points Media Center in the heart of Denver, Colorado, this is Studio 12.
Hi, I'm Bazi Kanani.
And I'm Ryan Harrer. Welcome to Studio 12.
A Colorado artist known for big, bold murals and community-driven public art is now using his talents to tell a story about Colorado agriculture.
Thomas Detour Evans is a well-known Colorado artist who has built a name at the intersection of art and activation. His latest work is a mural for the Colorado Department of Agriculture.
The project marks 150 years of agriculture in the state, and it celebrates the people and communities behind it.
We were able to meet up with Detour during the beginning stages of the mural as he shows how his signature style was born and how learning about agricultural history changed the way he looks at everything from water rights to what's in the produce aisle. Here's
Thomas Detour Evans.
I only have a couple more days left on this. Thomas Detour Evans. I'm Thomas Evans, but I go by Detour.
What colors do I need? You know what? This would be a good one too. Let's see, let me get down here.
A lot of people know me for the murals that I work on, but a lot of people know me now for sculptural work, just like interactive work, community activation, things like that. So trying to make sure I'm at the intersection of just like art and community. Yeah, so the colors on a lot of my work stem from the idea of like not being restricted. I stumbled on that through doing live art, and with live art, it's like you don't have time to mix colors or to match colors. And for me, when I did live art, that's where the colors kind of like showed through, because I just had to use paint out the bottle in this area to represent highlights or shadows, whatever. And then from there, it just became sort of like a thread that I kind of weave throughout a lot of the stuff that I do. You know, trying to make sure it's abstract, but also still relatable and consistent and like recognizable. So that's where I kind of get into, you know, doing work like this behind me. It's like making it super colorful, but also something that you can kind of recognize. Yeah, a couple Bob Ross videos later, I'm like, oh, this is how you do it. Bob Ross was great. I guess what inspires me is being able to do work that is different than everyone else, impactful, work that's tied to community and tells a story. For me, sometimes it's more about the process or the materials that I put into a piece. I did one recently I installed at the airport, which was a sculpture piece that was all upcycled luggage. And that one was really great because I got to meet so many people that were donating or contributing, you know, pieces of luggage that had stories to the actual sculpture. So that one is like aesthetically, there's a lot of meaning to it in terms of the colors and the shape, but it means a lot mainly because of the community that was involved in terms of putting everything together, because it would not be in the form it is if people didn't contribute all their stories and all their, you know, their background and their memories to the actual sculpture piece. So me, I want to try to figure out a way to make a lot of my work different, but also add in community as well.
And hopefully this translates well.
I've not worked with the agriculture community in Colorado, but my family does own farmland back in South Carolina. So my dad grew up on the farm, took me back to the farm. They, you know, grow corn and, you know, cotton, things like that. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like I was familiar with it, but haven't worked out here at all with any other communities. So it was really fun just to learn more about the history. So for me, it was like really great just to be able to add the contribution of artwork to the community and to the stories in a way, where it's kind of like, oh, now you're able to learn more about the history of agriculture in Colorado through the arts that I do. So on this side of the mural talks a little bit more about where we're at in agriculture. So the opening of the Spurs campus, so we really wanted to sort of show the next generation getting into crops, so having a couple of young individuals sort of growing the next generation of crops, but also some of the fruits and vegetables and sort of commodities that Colorado has in their farmland. So like learning how to paint potatoes was interesting, learning how to, even like paint wheat on a sort of like a micro but large scale, and then painting tractors, things like that. So it was really, really fun being able to sort of, how do I mix everything together and overlap a lot of this stuff so that it's a cohesive mural, but also too making the mural fun to where now it's not just, right angles. It's like now I kind of made it foldable, but to transport, but also die cut everything and referencing different things within those sort of die cuts, like the tractor, but also, like I was saying earlier, like the center point irrigation. So like that's where this sort of like circular sort of pattern comes from as well. Yeah, so this one, when I applied for the project and they were saying, hey, we would love to have a mural that talked about the 150th anniversary of agriculture in Colorado, I was like, okay, let me figure out where everything kind of started, the history of Colorado, and trying to do a mural that would tell the story of the past with the native communities, the youth, the plain communities and tribes, and then how sort of like snow melt kind of feeds everything. Because like I didn't know about water rights until I moved to Colorado. I'm like learning, okay, this is how you can grow things in Colorado. It's only because of the snow and the melting and the rivers that it provides. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, for me, it's inspiring to learn about that, but also communicate exactly how important each of those things are in the history of Colorado. Trying to put it into not only words, but now it's like into visuals, and what that means today is for me exciting. Because now it's like when I eat food, I look at it differently, and like how many people had their hands on it in a way, or when I go to the the produce section at a grocery store, okay, where's this coming from? Now I have a more of an appreciation of where the food comes from and who's growing it, and just the whole community, agriculture community. Then having a piece where it's super unique but also tells their story, I feel like it's an honor to be able to be picked to actually tell that story through my work. So for me, it's super, super exciting. And then to see at the stock show, I'm super excited to see at the state fair and meet a lot of these individuals. So for me, this is just an honor. I mean, it was difficult to figure out how to do like a portable mural. So it took a lot of work, but I'm glad that I'm able to actually take this off of what would usually be on a wall and have it travel to many places where they may not have the street art culture or the street art sort of aesthetic in their community. But now it's like they have a piece of artwork that represents them and something that they can enjoy that's different than what they're really used to, and talking about their story. The most challenging thing is like trying to tell everything, and you can't really tell everything. Trying to do that in many ways, whether it's like super in your face on the piece or super abstract, and it's the shape references that kind of story. There's so many different parts of Colorado agriculture that you want to tell, but there's only so much space to kind of tell that story. So that's the only thing I thought was really interesting and sort of difficult, was like, how do I sort of talk about all these different things without leaving anything out? And for me, I try to do as much as I can to kind of like reference something to where now it sparks a conversation for you to kind of learn more about it. Trying to talk about where Colorado was before, and then what happened the past 150 years, and then almost kind of like what's happening today, especially with the opening of the Spur campus, educating the next generation on agriculture and growing, and then new types of crops that are more pest resistant or new type of technology to help you have a better crop yield that year. I would say I hope this mural, when someone from the agriculture community sees it, hopefully they feel that their story is being told, that their story is being celebrated through the arts and through like a unique artist and style. Hope that the kids see it and say, oh, this is really cool. My community is being celebrated. I want to continue being a farmer, carrying on that legacy. So I hopefully this inspires the next generation as well.
Detour says creating the mural was an honor and that he can't wait to see each piece of it go out to different parts of the state.
You can learn more about Detour on his website, iamdetour.com.
We are introducing a brand new segment called The Doodle Desk, an illustrated interview. PBS 12's Kyle Dyer sits down with familiar faces from the Colorado Inside Out table for a deeper, more personal conversation.
As they reflect on the experiences that shaped their perspectives on Colorado, the panelists take on a playful, artistic challenge, drawing each other's portraits during the interview.
In tonight's sneak peek of The Doodle Desk, Kyle Dyer sits down with founder and editor of Westward, Patty Calhoun, to explore the opportunities, challenges, and stories that shaped Colorado's longest-running independent publication.
Patty Calhoun is a Colorado legend, an icon, one of our most respected journalists. If something is happening in Denver, Patty knows about it. She knows the people behind the story, the history behind the moment, and the conversations happening around town, because she totally knows everyone and everything that's happening in this city. Patty co-founded Westward back in 1977 as the paper's editor. She's been inducted to many halls of fame and led the paper to prominence, an indie paper to prominence, when other newspapers have been hit very hard. And for more than 30 years, Patty Calhoun has sat at the table of Colorado Inside Out pretty much every single week. Our longest running panelist working here with Patty on CIO has been a real privilege. Patty's love for Colorado and for the people who call this state home is absolutely contagious. Patty, what is it about what you do that keeps you so motivated?
I get to paint with words rather than pencils is part of it. There always are interesting new things to do in Denver every day, new scandals, but also really interesting things that people are trying. People come out to Denver or they stay in Denver because it's a city that makes things seem possible.
You talked about you like to be colorful with your writing rather than drawing, but you've already got going over there. How does this feel to be doing this assignment of drawing each other's faces?
It's just hard to get it right.
I know. So
I want to do you justice.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, can I ask you who inspired you first to get into journalism?
So reading as a kid, and then I went to Cornell, and I thought I was going to be a doctor, but everybody else wanted to be a doctor, so I thought, maybe I really want to be a journalist. And I worked on the independent daily paper there, and it was certainly the most interesting thing I did at Cornell.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now it looks like you have a mustache. I'm really sorry about this.
What inspired you to move out west?
I'd been coming out here skiing. I grew up in Illinois. We came out and skied when we were kids. We'd come out, our families, on the train and stay up all night, and then you'd get to the eastern plains and you'd see the mountains in the distance. And just the romance of the West was always really fun.
What inspired you to start a newspaper, an independent newspaper?
I worked in a secretarial pool. Some people will remember what that was at Cornell.
Okay.
And I typed so many lying Ivy League resumes. And I had to type their essays about why they wanted to go to some job or some college. I'm like, I'm never typing a resume. I'm going to start a newspaper instead.
What do you think it is about Westward that has kept it going for so many years when other papers have not fared well?
I think it's definitely the writers who like to tell stories, and it's the connection to the community. So I'll use an example today. Benny's restaurant, many people know Benny's. And just yesterday, it went on the market.
Oh,
so
did?
it's closed forever. And I wrote a story about Benny's closing and some of the things I knew from the owner over the years, Benny Armas. And it was our most read story for 3 months. Just a Mexican restaurant closing because it meant a lot to people in this town. You just are in the community. The people we care, the people we're writing for, are the people who want to get out and use the city and use the state, and they're here by choice, whether they were born here or whether they stay here. They want to get out and experience things. They like to know about the good, and they definitely like to know about the bad.
So when you're copy editing, dealing with that kind of stuff as well, leading the troops, hiring new people, why has it been so important for you to make the time every week to be on Colorado Inside Out? You got a lot going on.
Well, it's the same as doing the stories, and it's even better in some ways because it gives you a chance to really comment on what's going on that day, which certainly in the early days of Colorado Inside Out, we were a weekly paper that went to press and you didn't come out for 2 days. We weren't online until the early 90s, and we didn't really start doing a lot of stories online until 10 years ago. So it gives you an opportunity to comment on what's going on.
How do you think this show has evolved?
It changes, obviously, with the personalities. When it first started, it was really interesting people on it. It was Sue O'Brien and Al Knight and Pierre Jimenez and me. And I wish we could have talked more because, I mean, Sue and Al had seen so much in the political and the journalism world. Then we had Peter Boyles, who for a long time everyone thought I was Peter Boyles' secretary because they'd always call and ask me to do things. So Peter Boyles, and then Raj Chauhan, who was great because he was such a TV pro, such a journalist. Dominic, who was great, and you. So it changes because of the hosts, but what's consistent is you talk about local issues, and everyone in town who watch because it connects them to the community, and they feel like it's so accessible, and that they know us, and that we care and they care, and we speak to them, and people love that, and that's really fun.
Which is so important now more than ever. I feel like I say that a lot, but I feel like that knowing where you're getting your ideas, your perspectives from is helpful because there's so much out there that you don't know who's saying what.
Right. It's critical.
What do you think is underrated right now in Colorado, society, USA?
I think in Colorado, we underrate how many interesting cultural things are going on.
Yeah.
How many really great cultural things are going on. And we need to pay more attention to that.
You are very good about that, about Westward. I mean, you are like the list maker. Do you make the list of what's happening, like the great things to do in Colorado, Denver this weekend?
Humiliatingly, I will say at 4 a.m, sometimes if I can't sleep, I am typing listings of free things to do this weekend.
You are an early person. You send out emails like at 5 something, don't you?
I try not to do it too early.
Yeah.
But otherwise I forget.
So you ready to show?
Yes.
All right.
All right, well, it doesn't look like you, but...
Oh my gosh! I think it's great.
That is really good.
Well, I try to get your boots in. See here, let's show the camera so they can see. Patty, you are very good at art.
You're more interesting looking than this.
Well, I hope so. It's just a piece of poster board. I'm impressed, though.
Plenty of people would be happy to be poster board.
Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being such a fabulous cohort. I love sitting next to you every week on Colorado Inside Out.
It's always a blast. It is really fun. It's my highlight.
You're the best.
Thanks.
That was just a sneak peek of one of our conversations with our panelists. For our full conversation with all of our insiders, check out the Doodle Desk on the Passport app, PBS 12's YouTube channel, or on our website, pbs12.org, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to seeing you the next time at the Doodle Desk.
In the coming weeks, we'll show you more of Kyle's Doodle Desk interviews, including the sketches they come up with right here on Studio 12. So do be sure to stay tuned for that.
Switching now to business and innovation, our Franny Matthews attended the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas recently and came across a new world-class airport rescue and firefighting performance truck built by the Oshkosh Corporation.
The company is a leading innovator of purpose-built vehicles, like the one that Franny got to see up close, called the R2. Its rapid acceleration and powerful response capabilities, along with new AI technology enhancements, make it an impressive vehicle in airport safety and emergency response.
Here is Franny's interview with Oshkosh Chief Technology Officer Jay Iyengar.
Over here, we have a huge, I'm going to use the word fire truck. That's probably an understatement. Tell us a little bit about the R2 over there.
Yeah, so behind us is Airport Fire and Rescue Vehicle. It's called ARF. ARFF is what we call it.
Okay.
So we are the leaders in fire trucks. Our Pierce fire truck brand is, we are the leaders in fire trucks. And this is specifically designed for the airport application. The machine behind me that you see is a production vehicle. You can actually get in and take a video or take a selfie in the vehicle.
I did it yesterday.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. It's a 93,000-pound truck. Right? It's not just the truck, it carries all the fluids required for firefighting, etc. It can go from 0 to 50 miles an hour in 25 seconds.
Which is unbelievable for a big...
Unbelievable, you need, right? Because many times if it needs to turn or to get to where it needs to get to, a second here, second there, it could be, 20, 30 seconds of time savings. If there's a distress call, if a vehicle needs to get there. So, very excited. It's received global reception everywhere. We're in Europe, Australia. It's a very global application that we have this vehicle.
Where do you manufacture?
This vehicle is manufactured. We are a Wisconsin, in the United States. We are a Wisconsin-based company. That's why the name Oshkosh Corporation.
Yep. Everybody's thinking about overalls, and this is really what they're doing.
Seamless. It's a production vehicle, and you see the innovation awards. We won a total of 5 innovation awards.
That's amazing.
So it's very, very, very proud of the technology, and it's amazing.
Well, you should personally be proud. You're in essence the CTO,
yes,
but you also have supply chain.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you're looking at supply chain now, how it might be either there's more opportunity or more challenges right now?
The interesting part of my role is it's all about creating a strategic partnership early on. We consciously make sure we leverage the technology from the supply base and make sure that we are, we don't have to invent everything ourselves. So being able to work with our, global supply base, have a conversation early on with the technology phase, to me, that's the exciting part about it. We always make sure I use the term make-buy, what we want to kind of own meaning we want to own the IP, we want to own all aspects of it, and what we want to partner with. So that helps me to go find, the right kind of supply base. So it's a very interesting part of the job. It makes it very rewarding, kind of bringing engineering and supply chain.
What else would you like our viewers to know about? We are broadcast on PBS 12 in Denver, Colorado, and go all the way up to Wyoming and all the way down to northern New Mexico. What would you like people to know?
So, Oshkosh Corporation is everywhere. You may not see it. We are in every part of the community. An example was, if you came here on Monday, you would see the JLG machines everywhere in this hall, building business thing. So in so many ways, JLG made CES happen, right?
Yes.
So we are everywhere in the community, right? So, and I think our team, we are a company with a higher purpose of, providing solutions for those who are everyday heroes. Technology, we are a technology company. We have been doing, level 5 autonomy 20 years ago with our defense application, a leader-follower technology. Now the technology is becoming mainstream and coming into every one of our applications. So, those of you who are watching this broadcast, and great time to join industrial technology companies. If you are a student, knowing where to go, every aspect of the high tech is there here and now in the industrial technology companies. And we are at the forefront of transforming, either job sites, airports, or neighborhoods, of where you work and live.
Jay, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. This is really exciting to see what you're doing, and what I had said earlier is what we're seeing at the show this year is actual implementations of more complex solutions across the board, but I'm seeing a lot in physical AI, and this is a beautiful example.
You're completely right. I think also, at the end of the day, it's not about technology, it's about what it does.
Stay tuned here on Studio 12 as Franny brings us more stories from the Consumer Electronics Show.
Safety has been a major focus across Colorado for several years now, and that attention appears to be paying off.
Let's check in now with Kyle Dyer, who led a discussion on Colorado Inside Out about the latest report showing crime is declining in our communities.
Hi, Bazi and Ryan. It seems so often that you hear people quote statistics that paint crime in one light and then others might say something completely different. Well, some new data recently released by the governor's office gives us a new lens to look through. And so we talked about that on the latest episode of Colorado Inside Out. New state numbers show that Colorado's overall crime rate has decreased by double-digit margins over this past year. The mid-year report that compared January through June of 2024 to January through June of 2025 showed a dip in all sorts of different crimes. Christy, let's start with you. Your organization, Advance Colorado, has talked about the crime issues in Colorado, once calling it a crime tsunami here in our state. What's your reaction to these new numbers?
First of all, it's great for Colorado. We want to see crime decrease. I think one thing worth pointing out is that Aurora was the city with the highest dip at 16.8%. Now, the former Aurora City Council, which did just flip, had done a lot to be hard on crime. Better laws than the state has on auto theft and retail theft. And now with a recent Colorado Supreme Court decision, localities can't do that anymore. And they actually cannot have more stringent laws on crime than the state has. So I think that's going to be interesting and informative. Like, what effect does that have on localities that have been able to reduce crime through these higher penalties? But Denver, to give them a little bit of credit too, reduced crime by 10.2%. But what has Mayor Johnson been saying? He's been saying that he's increasing funding for law enforcement. So I think we can point to specific action being taken by localities that's pro-law enforcement, it's cracking down on crime, that's made a difference. And then, of course, Advance Colorado, we did pass 2 ballot measures in 2024 that the voters agreed with: truth in sentencing. It's going to keep violent criminals in jail longer after they're sentenced, and also provide $350 million in funding for law enforcement. The state legislature decided to take 10 years to implement that. So $35 million per year in increased funding for training, bonuses, other things that law enforcement needs to keep us safe. So I think that at the core is the real question. Can we sustain this drop in crime? And can the legislature actually participate in making that happen?
Okay, your thoughts, Patty?
I think we can sustain it. I mean, we're coming off COVID still, and that was an aberration let's hope we never see again, both in people being locked up in their houses, people being locked up in jail, people being out on the streets. And so we earlier, before this statewide stat came out, we'd heard about Denver's big drop in homicides. That's something that's happening around most of the country too, which is something to celebrate. I mean, Denver's drop was really impressive because it went back, and when it went down to, our highs had been like a 93 and in 2003, but it was so low. The car thefts way down, and that is clearly because Denver and the rest of the state took action and used a lot of smart tactics. Property crime you still have property crime. We just wrote about windshields being bashed in just because people are bored or maybe are on the streets and don't know, not even bored, maybe just aren't on the planet, literally. So things that we still need to be aware, but I think the feeling also is, and Ian will probably talk about this, people also feel better about their policing. The communities feel better, in this state at least. We don't know about Minnesota, but I think here people are feeling better about the police.
Okay, Pat.
One of the things that I was looking at was the statistics on crime against people, and this follows into the violent crime. And there was another report, a second report that came out before this, that talked about the domestic violence situation. And that's going in the wrong direction, absolutely going in the worst direction. Domestic violence cases are up, fatalities are up, and the thing that really stuck out for me was that children who are involved in these domestic violence incidents, even if they are not the intended victim, the fatalities for children was horrific, and every single one of those fatalities was committed with a gun. Mm-hmm. So while there's a lot of very wonderful, good news in these new statistics, there's still some really major work that needs to be done in this area.
Is there a discussion about domestic violence at the state capitol this session?
Not that I've seen yet.
Okay, all right, Ian.
I would agree with Christy that it's a positive thing anytime we're seeing crime go down in any one of our communities. I will say, though, that the implications of ICE and the hiding of people who are living here undocumented, who are often either victims themselves or are witnesses to the victimization of others, there's a chilling effect on the ability for these DAs to complete those cases and to bring justice for people who have been harmed. I will also say that a dip means that the amount of officers we do have the opportunity to perhaps patrol more or to be more present in the community instead of always at a call. And hopefully this leads to lower call times. I think that's something that came up a lot when I ran for mayor about the call times and how we were going to get those down. I also say that AI, flock cameras, all of this continues to be part of the conversation of what tools are available for officers and how AI is used. Do you have your privacy? I think this is going to continue to be a big part of the conversation. And in particular, when you see like the mayor of Denver who made claims that crimes were solved that weren't solved by flock cameras, I mean, that continues to erode it. And I appreciate you bringing up guns. I mean, gun reform and violence is something that the youth have been marching and marching and marching for, and we continue to see guns causing tons of problems across the United States.
That was just one of the topics we talked about on the latest episode of Colorado Inside Out. You can catch the entire show on YouTube, the PBS Passport app, or listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And make sure to catch our next episode at any of those places or right here on PBS 12 this Friday at 8.
We've got a new way of interviewing people who have something to say. It's called 12 Questions, and the concept is simple.
We ask different people the exact same 12 questions, then pull some of their most interesting, honest, and sometimes surprising answers.
Not every question makes the cut, but the goal is to get past the headlines and get a deeper understanding of who they really are.
In our very first edition, we sat down with 3 journalists from across the country. Tiffany Liu from WFAA in Dallas.
Chad Nelson, director of photography at KARE 11 in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
And legendary storyteller Boyd Hooper, also from KARE 11.
Same questions, 3 very different perspectives.
Here is 12 questions.
I did not always know I wanted to go into journalism. I actually went to business school. And so I have a business and communications degree, and I went into corporate marketing first. I just really didn't like sitting behind a desk and, reporting to the corporate boss. I didn't feel like I was making a difference in my tech job, and so I decided to take a community college class.
I took an intro to broadcasting class when I was in college, and the professor on one of the days had us watch the movie The Paper with Michael Keaton, and I was like, this is a job? I was 18, 19 years old, whatever I was, and I was like, people get paid to do this?
When I was in high school, I got a job at the little radio station, little 3,000-watt radio station in my hometown. That kind of opened the door. I sometimes think if I hadn't gotten that job at that little radio station, what I might be doing today. I doubt that I'd be a dairy farmer. That I don't think was ever going to be my life. But I don't know if I would have found broadcasting, but at 16 years old, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and have been on that path ever since.
So I decided to take a community college class called Live TV Broadcasting. It was so random, and it was like $100, but that one class changed my life, and I totally shifted my career to journalism. And I think the aha moment for me was when they hired me as an overnight assignment editor, and that's the job where you listen to the scanners. Your shift is like 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's brutal. And I just loved it. Like, I immersed myself with scanners all around me. I was surrounded by producers and anchors, reporters, and I was watching all these different reporters go out on assignments. And I knew that when I loved the midnight shift, that this was the job that I really wanted to do, and this was the industry that I wanted to be in.
I got a part-time photography job at one of the local stations that was suggested by one of my professors, and for the weekends, and I just I never looked back.
At University of Wisconsin River Falls, which is the campus in my hometown, and they had a radio station there too, which was, again, I thought, well, I can go to school there and I can even learn more about radio. And then I wasn't able to find a radio internship my sophomore year, a summer internship, but I'd sent a few resumes out to television stations, and I got a call from the news director at KSTP TV in St. Paul. I walked into that television newsroom with 100 people in that newsroom, and like that, I was done with radio. It was like going to the circus. Like to me, it was the equivalent of, fire-breathing women and plate spinners. It was just so much energy, and I'd been used to sitting in that little booth in radio, and then the collaboration and the energy and the people screaming at each other across the newsroom. I knew then this is what I wanted to do.
I think information is something that is digestible for people, and being a journalist is giving it context. It's very easy for me to say a bunch of stats, and politicians do this the best, right? They love to give you a lot of stats, this, that, this, that. But like, the world isn't so black and white with stats. There's a lot of gray in there. And I think for journalism, it's it's very different in the sense that you have to let people understand all the nuance of all of that. And I think as journalists, it's important for us to provide that context of like, yes, the statistic may be true, but there's a lot more to that.
I think as journalists, we take information and we see how it impacts the people. For example, when I'm telling a story about maybe some, social issue, I will find the people that it impacts and why it impacts them. And our job as journalists is to make the viewers care. Why is this issue important? And the only way to do that is to share a real person's story with them. But of course, in that story, we include the information, but we also want to revolve it around the community and why it matters and why we're doing this story in the first place.
I think information is something that already exists. I think of information that's already online, it's already gathered, it's in a library, it's in an encyclopedia. Journalism is something that's out there to be discovered. As a journalist, I'm the gatherer. And once I gather it and produce it, put it into a story form, then it becomes information. But it's not information until it's been gathered and processed. I wish people could see the care that goes into producing this story and the number of people who are involved in the process. The attention to detail that people who are involved in putting that story together, from the reporters to the assignment managers to the photographers to the producers to the news directors. And we have about 100 people in our newsroom, so there are a lot of people that touch that story along the way, who have input and then have feedback to share after it airs. I think people would be pretty pleased if we pulled back the curtain. They always say, you don't want to see the sausage being made, but in our case, at least in our newsroom, I think people would be pretty okay if they saw the sausage being made.
I wish people knew that it's a group decision. It's not, hey, can I pitch you this story and will you feed it to your managers and let's do it. It's not that easy of a decision to make. Like, as a reporter in a newsroom, I don't necessarily have the power to decide what goes on our newscast every single day. And I think sometimes it's hard for people to understand, hey, why was my story cut? But it's because there was some huge breaking news that day, and so we had to push it further down. I think a lot of people think that this job is so glamorous. People expect me to show up with a photographer. Hey, where's your photographer? Oh, I am the photographer. And I sometimes feels like they think that they've got the B team with them because I'm by myself shooting a lot of my stuff. So a lot of times it does feel like I have to prove myself to the people that I'm interviewing. Oh, I promise, I've been doing this for more than a dozen years now, and I promise I will do your story justice. but like, why should I have to say that? So they don't really know that like this is how the industry is going. That a lot of people are multimedia journalists and we just do everything.
I would say compassion makes a great journalist. I think most people who see a byline in an article or a face on television or whatever it is that they think they just go through and let all this just hate and vitriol or pain and misery or love and joy like just bounce right off of them and they go on there. But most people that I know that are really, really good at their job are very compassionate, because you kind of have to be. I mean, you don't want to be part of the story, but you want to understand, no matter where somebody is coming from, that you want to understand where they're coming from. Because if you don't, if you just let it bounce off to you and say they're wrong, or I know this person is right because I feel the same, you're not doing a great job, in my opinion.
Empathy, I think. Yeah. I think curiosity, definitely curiosity. Seeing something that other people might drive by or might read past in an article, I think a good journalist says, I want to know a little bit more about that. Something about that doesn't seem right. Or more people need to know about this. I've got a few questions I want to ask. I think a natural curiosity, and I mentioned the word empathy, and I think that comes into play because to tell someone's story, I need to understand their story, and I think that's the empathetic part of it. I do stories about people who are very different from me, but I need to be able to put myself in their shoes. I need to understand their situation, their challenges, their highs and their lows, and if I can put myself into their shoes, it makes it easier to write that story then. To be more accurately write their story.
I always tell people that if you stop caring, you shouldn't be in this industry anymore. A lot of people ask me, how I deal with all of the doom and gloom that I cover on a day-to-day basis, and I tell them, like, yes, there are moments where I cry with a grieving mom or somebody who lost a child or all the difficult things that we have to deal with. But if I get to the point where I'm just jaded by it, then that's my time to like step away from being a journalist. I think that a journalist should have compassion and should really care about the community. We're not here to be on camera. We're not here to be on air as broadcast journalists. We're here to share someone else's story. And we have the opportunity and we have the platform to do so. And so I think we should really like appreciate that. So I truly believe that journalists should care about every person that they talk to. And not only that, but take away and learn from each person that they interview as well.
We'll continue asking the same 12 questions to people from all walks of life, journalists, creatives, leaders, and community voices.
And each time we'll bring you a few of the answers that stood out the most. Before we go, we're leaving you with a nostalgic performance from the past, filmed right here in our PBS 12 studios.
It's the television debut of Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. That was back in 2013, and it's a set that is music magic.
We Heart Music called Rateliff a bellowing soul god, backed by the Night Sweats, a 7-piece soul outfit with drums, keys, bass, guitar, and horns.
It's a powerful performance from a hometown artist captured before the rest of the world caught on. We hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks for joining us for Studio 12. Be sure to catch us again here next Tuesday night at 8.
And don't forget to follow us on social media and YouTube. I'm Ryan Harrer.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. Have a good week.
Good evening and welcome to this very special edition of Sounds on 29th. I'm Sid Pink, and this is a special that only can be brought to you by PBS. Tonight we have the entire cast of Downton Abbey, Doctor Who, and Mr. Snuffleupagus in the house, and that is next special. Doesn't mean tonight isn't going to be great, too. I promise, because we have Nathaniel Rateliff in tight sweats. And he looks... Oh, no, sorry. I can't read that far. I'm sorry. Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats are here. And, yes, I didn't realize I had so many fans. I feel great. As always, we like to thank Illegal Pete for keeping us fed backstage, and Radio 1190 for doing whatever they do. Now, because there are children in the audience, I was advised to back off the profanity, to which I said, oh, fuck, crying out loud, of course. I'll do that. Now, has anyone heard of music? Okay, a couple. I think you guys are set. I think we can warm the other half over if we can. I'd like you to give a very warm welcome to a friend of mine, despite what they say, being like a real pushy, needy, moody rock star type. I mean, this is a man who pulled me aside, his lawyer pulled me aside and said, if you say... No, actually, I've drank with him, I've smoked with him, I've laughed with him, I've cried with him. I went through a kendo sword training with him. We developed a line of artisanal hand soaps together. And I was the one who turned him on to the V-neck T-shirt. We go way back, is what I'm saying. And I want all of that to be channeled through all of you. And I thank you for coming here, my audience, on Sounds on 29th for Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats.
So close to you. Tell me that you want me. Tell me that you need me. Oh, tell me that you love me. Tell me that there's nothing around here, baby. This part of town's getting crazy. Walking around and getting bleeding. changing your mind for so many reasons. From what I can tell, you just might as well as lay down and choke on your own. I can't give you enough to just keep believing. This shit don't run well. It's burned out as hell and it's trying so hard not to know. You're filling it up just to turn out on empty. God damn, I know just how it feels. I'm going to tear out all that's inside me. Look away from hell, 'cause nobody cares and they're trying so hard not to know. You take all that you want, haven't found any answers. I look around and stare, and run around and yell that it might not rain anymore. You never stand up long enough to pull it together. Well, who gives a damn? And maybe you care when they're trying so hard not to know.